In the summer of 1945, the United States did not simply win a war. It rewrote the rules of human power. For centuries, empires had risen and fallen through armies, territory, and industry. But in a single flash of light over Hiroshima, all of that became secondary. One weapon had proven capable of ending civilizations. Inside the American government, the atomic bomb was viewed as a shield, a final guarantee that no enemy would ever dare challenge the United States directly. It was the ultimate insurance policy, earned through sacrifice, science, and secrecy. But what many American leaders failed to grasp was this: the atomic bomb did not end conflict. It merely changed its shape. Far from Washington, deep inside the Kremlin, Joseph Stalin studied the reports from Hiroshima and Nagasaki with cold precision. He showed no visible reaction, no outrage, no awe, only calculation. Stalin understood power instinctively. He had clawed his way to absolute control through paranoia, violence, and patience. And he recognized immediately what the bomb meant. It meant that the Soviet Union, despite its massive army and territorial reach, was suddenly vulnerable. The USSR had paid the highest price in World War II. More than 27 million dead, entire regions destroyed, industries flattened, cities burned to the ground. Against a nuclear-armed America, those sacrifices meant nothing. Without the bomb, the Soviet Union would forever exist under American shadow. Stalin made a decision that very few men in history have ever been able to make, a decision that would shape the next century. The Soviet Union would get the bomb, not eventually, not theoretically, immediately. But Stalin also understood something else. The atomic bomb was not just a weapon. It was a scientific miracle, and miracles take time. American scientists had begun their nuclear research years before the war. They had unlimited funding, industrial capacity, and access to the world's top minds. Even then, the Manhattan Project had pushed the limits of human understanding. The Soviet Union did not have that luxury. Its infrastructure was broken. Its economy was exhausted. Its scientific community was capable, but behind. To build the bomb honestly would take too long. So Stalin chose the only path that made sense: espionage. Long before the bomb fell on Japan, Soviet intelligence services, the NKVD and later the GRU, had already turned their attention to American scientific programs. They understood that modern wars would be won not just on battlefields, but in laboratories. And the Manhattan Project was the greatest laboratory on Earth. At its peak, the Manhattan Project employed over 130,000 people across dozens of secret sites. Entire towns were erased from maps. Workers were sworn to silence. Letters were censored. Phone calls monitored. Yet despite all of this, the project suffered from a fatal weakness. It was built on trust. American security focused almost entirely on preventing Nazi infiltration. Communist ideology, especially among intellectuals and refugees, was seen as secondary, sometimes even sympathetic. This blind spot proved catastrophic. Among the scientists recruited were men who had fled fascism, who had seen what absolute power could do. To them, the atomic bomb was not a patriotic triumph. It was a moral dilemma. One of these men was Klaus Fuchs. Fuchs had escaped Nazi Germany and found refuge in Britain. He was deeply When he joined the British nuclear effort and later the Manhattan Project, he believed he was helping defeat tyranny. But as the bomb neared completion, Fuchs became convinced that the real danger lay ahead. He feared a world where the United States alone controlled nuclear weapons. To Fuchs, secrecy itself became immoral. So he made a choice. Without being blackmailed, without being paid, he began passing information to Soviet intelligence. Fuchs was uniquely valuable because he understood the bomb at a conceptual level. He was not copying documents, he was transferring understanding. He explained why designs worked, not just how. He described implosion mechanics, critical mass calculations, material challenges. For Soviet scientists, this was revolutionary. It meant they did not need to guess. They did not need to fail repeatedly. They could build with confidence. At the same time, another figure entered the story, one even more unsettling: Theodore Hall. Hall was only 19 years old when he arrived at Los Alamos. He was brilliant beyond his years, trusted by senior scientists, and given access far beyond what his age should have allowed. Like Fuchs, Hall believed the atomic bomb should not belong to one nation alone. He feared that American dominance would lead to nuclear coercion or global dictatorship. And like Fuchs, he acted on that belief. Hall approached Soviet contacts voluntarily. He provided details about the plutonium implosion design, the most complex and sensitive aspect of the bomb. His information confirmed Soviet theories and validated Fuchs' reports. The picture became clear. The Americans were building a plutonium implosion bomb, and it worked. From that moment on, the Soviet program shifted into high gear. Meanwhile, Soviet intelligence continued embedding assets deeper inside American infrastructure. Some were scientists, others were engineers, technicians, couriers. One of the most astonishing cases was George Koval. Koval was born in the United States. He spoke perfect English. He blended in effortlessly. But he had lived in the Soviet Union and had been trained by Soviet intelligence before returning to America. Drafted into the U.S. Army, Koval gained access to classified facilities connected to nuclear materials. He learned about polonium initiators, a crucial trigger component for atomic weapons. For decades, his role remained completely unknown. He was never arrested, never exposed. The theft continued silently, and while American officials celebrated victory, a parallel atomic program was quietly taking shape behind the Iron Curtain. What finally cracked the illusion was not an arrest. It was mathematics. During World War II, American intelligence had begun intercepting encrypted Soviet communications. These messages were protected by one-time pads, theoretically unbreakable. But Soviet operators made a fatal mistake. They reused pads. Patterns emerged, and slowly, painfully, American cryptographers began to read the unthinkable. This effort became known as the Venona Project. First, Venona revealed fragments, code names, vague references, but over time, the picture sharpened. There were spies inside America, inside the atomic program, at the highest levels. But Venona created a nightmare. If the United States acted too aggressively, the Soviets would know their codes were compromised. Venona would die. So intelligence agencies hesitated. They watched. They documented. They waited. And while they waited, the Soviet Union crossed the nuclear threshold. On August 29, 1949, the Soviet Union detonated its first atomic bomb. The shock was immediate. American planes detected radioactive fallout. Instruments confirmed the impossible. The Soviets had the bomb. The nuclear monopoly, the foundation of American post-war security, was gone, and the world entered a permanent state of nuclear tension. The realization that the Soviet Union now possessed nuclear weapons did not simply change military strategy. It shattered something far more fragile: American certainty. For the first time since World War II, the United States was forced to confront the possibility that its enemies were not always visible, that the greatest threat to national security had not crossed borders with tanks or bombers. It had walked through the front doors of laboratories, universities, and government offices. Inside Washington, intelligence agencies were consumed by a single obsession: who else had betrayed the country? The Venona Project, once treated as an experimental effort, now became the crown jewel of American counterintelligence. Analysts re-examined every decrypted cable, every code name, every indirect reference. Slowly, the network became clearer and more disturbing. The Soviets had not relied on one spy or one ideology. They had built an ecosystem: couriers, handlers, scientists, sympathizers. Some were motivated by money, others by ideology, many by fear, and a few by genuine belief that they were preventing a future war. One name soon rose above the rest in public consciousness: Julius Rosenberg. Unlike scientists such as Fuchs or Hall, Julius Rosenberg was not a physicist. His value was organizational. He connected people. He recruited. He passed information along chains designed to protect the source. According to U.S. prosecutors, Rosenberg acted as a hub for Soviet intelligence in New York. Through him, technicians and engineers from defense plants passed information that, when combined with other intelligence, filled in crucial gaps for Soviet planners. His wife, Ethel Rosenberg, became one of the most controversial figures in Cold War history. The government argued that she was an active participant, that she typed notes, facilitated meetings, and supported the network. Critics later claimed her role was exaggerated to pressure Julius into cooperation. What mattered at the time, however, was perception. The American public saw something unprecedented: a married couple, parents of young children, accused of betraying the nation at the height of nuclear fear. The Rosenberg trial was not just a legal proceeding. It was theater. Newspapers framed it as a test of loyalty. Politicians used it as proof that communism had infected American society. The courtroom became a battleground for ideology as much as evidence. In 1951, both were found guilty. 2 years later, they were executed. The image of the Rosenbergs walking toward the electric chair burned itself into the American psyche. To supporters, they were martyrs. To opponents, monsters. To historians, symbols of a nation grappling with an invisible enemy. But behind the headlines, intelligence officials understood a harder truth. The Rosenbergs were not the beginning. They were the end. By the time arrests were made, the damage was already done. The Soviet Union had not only built an atomic bomb, it had institutionalized espionage as a strategic weapon. Intelligence was no longer just about knowing enemy plans. It was about stealing the future. In response, the United States transformed itself. Security clearances became stricter. Background investigations expanded. Loyalty oaths were introduced. Universities, once open spaces of intellectual freedom, became targets of scrutiny. This environment gave rise to one of the darkest chapters in American political history: McCarthyism. Senator Joseph McCarthy claimed that communists had infiltrated every level of American life. While some of his warnings were grounded in real espionage, many were reckless, exaggerated, or outright false. Careers were destroyed, reputations ruined, fear replaced trust. The tragedy was profound. Real spies had operated quietly for years while innocent people were accused publicly with little evidence. Yet the fear itself was not imaginary. The atomic bomb had been stolen, and that fact changed everything. In the years that followed, nuclear strategy evolved rapidly. The United States accelerated its own weapons programs. Hydrogen bombs were developed. Intercontinental ballistic missiles followed. Submarines carrying nuclear warheads disappeared beneath the oceans. The doctrine of mutually assured destruction emerged, the idea that peace could only exist if both sides possessed the ability to annihilate each other. A balance built on terror. And it all traced back to those early days of espionage. To Klaus Fuchs memorizing equations. To Theodore Hall acting on belief. To intelligence officers choosing patience over arrests. The Soviet Union eventually collapsed in 1991. But the nuclear world it helped create remains. Thousands of warheads still exist. Dozens of nations seek nuclear capability. Espionage continues, quieter, more digital, more sophisticated. The story of how the Soviets stole the atomic bomb is not just Cold War history. It is a warning that technological superiority is temporary, that secrecy is fragile, that internal threats can be more dangerous than external enemies. The bomb was not taken by force. It was given away piece by people who believed they were doing the right thing. And that may be the most unsettling lesson of all, because history shows us that power does not fall only to enemies. Sometimes it leaks through open hands. If you want more stories like this, real stories of espionage, betrayal, and the hidden forces that shaped our world, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and stay with us, because the Cold War may be over, but its secrets are still shaping the future.